The outpost sirens blared, a discordant wail slicing through the air as the alien invaders descended with a thunderous roar. Sergeant Alex Carter crouched behind a crumbling wall, his breath heavy in the cold night. Flickering shadows danced on the fractured concrete as explosions erupted in the distance. His fingers tightened around the hilt of his plasma rifle, eyes scanning the battlefield for any sign of hope. "Hold the line!" Carter's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and commanding. His squad, a ragtag group of soldiers, fought with a fervor that defied their grim circumstances. The alien forces, sleek and menacing in their advanced armor, moved with relentless precision, their laughter echoing over the battlefield. Lieutenant Sarah Hayes, her face illuminated by the eerie glow of her console, tapped frantically at her portable tech. "They're closing in on the main reactor. I need more time to reroute the power." Her voice, though strained, carried a thread of unwavering determination. Sparks flew from the damaged panel beside her as she worked. "Just hold them off a bit longer, Sarah," Carter shouted, his eyes locking onto the advancing aliens. The ground beneath him trembled as another explosion rocked the perimeter. He could see the shadows of his soldiers fighting valiantly, their efforts a beacon of defiance amid the alien onslaught. Corporal Jake Torres, ever the maverick, darted between cover, his movements a blur of calculated chaos. "They're underestimating us, Sergeant. That's their mistake," he called out, firing his modified pulse grenades with unerring accuracy. Each explosion pushed the aliens back, if only temporarily. Carter's gaze hardened as he observed General Zorak, the alien commander, observing the scene with an air of detached amusement. The general's eyes, glowing a menacing red behind his visor, reflected the arrogance of an invader certain of victory. Carter could almost hear Zorak's mocking laughter, a cruel reminder of the disparity in power. "We're not just fighting for survival," Carter murmured, more to himself than anyone else. "We're fighting to prove we're not as weak as they think." The battle intensified, the aliens pressing their advantage with ruthless efficiency. Carter's squad was pushed to their limits, each member a testament to human grit and resilience. Carter rallied his troops, his voice a rallying cry amidst the clamor of battle. "Focus on the breach. If we can hold them here, we might just turn this around." Sarah's fingers flew over her console, her face a mask of concentration. "I'm rerouting the power. If I can stabilize the shields, we'll have a fighting chance." As she worked, Carter glanced at Torres, who was now setting up makeshift barricades with salvaged debris. "Jake, make sure those barriers hold. We can't afford any breaches." Torres nodded, his face set with fierce determination. "Got it, Sergeant. They won't get past me." The tension in the air was almost palpable as the alien forces regrouped for another assault. Carter's heart pounded with the rhythm of the battle, each moment stretching the limits of endurance and strategy. As the night wore on, the humans' defiance became their strength, their resolve a beacon in the dark. Carter's gaze remained fixed on General Zorak, whose confidence seemed to wane as the battle dragged on. The alien commander's posture shifted from assurance to irritation, a crack in his armor of arrogance. "This isn't over yet," Carter muttered, his resolve steeled by the sight of his comrades fighting against the odds. He knew that the true battle was not just against the invaders, but against the very perception of human weakness. As the chapter closes, Carter's squad braces for another wave of assault, their defiance a beacon of hope in the relentless storm. The outcome remains uncertain, but the determination of the human spirit shines through the darkness. This chapter sets the stage for the conflict, introduces the main characters, and establishes the central challenge while maintaining a rising tension. The dialogue and sensory details enhance the immersive experience, and the narrative flow leads smoothly to the next stage of the story. The uneasy silence that followed the explosion was brief. Sergeant Alex Carter crouched behind a hastily erected barricade, eyes darting between the shattered remains of the alien command center and his weary squad. The battlefield had transformed into a chaotic maze of debris and smoke, a testament to the violence that had unfolded. "Status report!" Carter barked over the din. His voice was sharp, cutting through the haze of destruction. Lieutenant Sarah Hayes was already at her console, her face illuminated by the dim glow of her display. "I've rerouted the power, but the aliens are onto us," Sarah responded, her fingers dancing across the keyboard. "Their security systems are reactivating. We don't have much time before they lock down the entire area." Corporal Jake Torres, drenched in sweat and grime, moved swiftly to Carter's side. "The aliens are regrouping," he said, voice tense. "They're deploying additional forces. We need to act now if we're going to capitalize on this chaos." Carter's gaze fixed on the alien reinforcements pouring into the command center. His mind raced, calculating their next move. "We're on borrowed time. If we can disable their central network, it might buy us enough time to turn this battle around." Sarah nodded, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The network's core is heavily guarded. I can disrupt their systems temporarily, but we need to get in and out quickly." Torres, ever the strategist, grinned wryly. "Then let's give them a distraction they won't forget. I've got some ideas to shake things up." The plan was risky. Carter and his squad would need to split their efforts. One team would create a diversion, while the other infiltrated the core network. He glanced at Sarah and Torres, their faces reflecting a mix of determination and apprehension. "All right, here's the plan," Carter said, his voice steady. "Sarah, you handle the tech. Jake and I will lead the diversion. Keep your comms open. We move on my mark." As the team prepared, the air buzzed with tension. Carter and Torres set out, using debris as cover. The alien forces, still reeling from the earlier explosion, were disorganized. Carter's squad made their move, launching improvised explosives and drawing the aliens' attention away from Sarah's position. "Clear a path to the network core!" Carter shouted over the crackle of gunfire. He ducked behind a reinforced wall, his pulse racing as he watched Torres scramble to set up additional charges. "Almost there!" Sarah's voice crackled through the comms, tinged with urgency. "But they're closing in fast. I need 5 more minutes." The tension mounted. Carter could hear the rhythmic thud of alien boots and the distant hum of their advanced weaponry. His gaze met Torres's, and they exchanged a determined nod. Every second counted. "Hold them off!" Carter roared, pushing forward with a burst of speed. The explosions from Torres's grenades created a barrage of smoke and fire, momentarily obscuring their advance. Carter's tactical mind raced, analyzing the shifting battlefield with precise calculations. The air was thick with the acrid smell of burning metal and ozone. Carter could barely hear Sarah's voice over the comms as she worked furiously. The alien forces, though initially thrown off, were regrouping. Their tactical advantage was slipping away, but the threat was far from over. "We've got company!" Torres yelled, taking cover behind a makeshift barricade. His expression was a mix of grit and exhilaration. "Just keep them busy!" Carter ordered, firing back at the advancing aliens. The clash of weapons and the roar of combat filled the air. Each second stretched into an eternity as they fought to maintain their precarious advantage. As the chapter draws to a close, the team's fate hangs in the balance. The tension of the battle, the urgency of Sarah's work, and the relentless pressure of the alien forces create a high-stakes environment. The next moments would determine whether their daring plan would succeed or falter. This chapter advances the plot by introducing new complications and deepening character interactions. The tension builds as the plan unfolds, and sensory details enhance the immersive experience. The dialogue reveals character motivations and adds to the story's dynamic progression. The pulse of battle was relentless. Carter's diversion had bought precious time, but now, the tension was a living thing. With the central network core within reach, every heartbeat seemed amplified by the oppressive silence that had fallen over the command center. The air was thick with the scent of ozone and charred metal, the echoes of battle a distant roar. Lieutenant Sarah Hayes crouched beside a tangle of exposed wiring, her face set in determined lines. The flickering light from her tech console cast erratic shadows, illuminating her intense concentration. Her fingers danced over the controls, her breath coming in shallow bursts as she hacked through the alien security protocols. 5 more minutes, and the core will be exposed, she murmured into her calm, her voice betraying a hint of strain. But they're pushing back harder now. I can't guarantee how long the diversion will hold. Carter, crouched behind a fragmented wall, scanned the perimeter with sharp, calculating eyes. We're running out of time. We need to make our push now. Corporal Jake Torres, his armor smeared with grime and sweat, fired a burst of rounds at the advancing alien troops. I've got your sixth, Sergeant, he shouted over the cacophony. Just get that core open before we're overrun. As Carter and Torres advanced through the wreckage-strewn corridors, the intensity of the battle became a physical force. Alien troops, now fully mobilized, closed in with precision and aggression. Carter's pulse raced, each step a calculated risk. His mind raced through the strategic possibilities, seeking any advantage they could exploit. Covering fire! Carter ordered, dropping to a knee and unleashing a barrage of plasma rounds. The aliens recoiled, their sleek forms momentarily obscured by smoke and debris. Torres moved with practiced efficiency, setting up additional explosives to fortify their position. The alien forces, though initially disoriented, began to regroup with alarming speed. Carter's heart pounded as he saw the first signs of their counteroffensive, a wave of elite soldiers deploying advanced energy shields and precision weapons. The stakes were climbing. Sarah, how's it going? Carter barked into his comm, his voice edged with urgency. I'm almost there. Sarah's voice was clipped, focused. The system is vulnerable. I need you to hold them off just a bit longer. The corridor leading to the core was a labyrinth of twisted metal and sparks. Carter's squad pushed through, their movements a blend of desperation and determination. The aliens' fire grew more intense, each shot a reminder of the high price of failure. Torres's grin had faded, replaced by a fierce scowl. We've got a breach, he yelled, pointing to a crack in the defenses. They're coming through. Carter's eyes met Torres's, and he nodded sharply. Get that breach sealed. We can't afford any more surprises. As Torres worked to reinforce the barricade, Carter advanced with a focused intensity. The energy in the corridor crackled, a palpable tension that seemed to push back against their progress. Carter's gaze was locked on the entrance to the core, the culmination of their desperate gamble. Nearly there! Sarah's voice crackled through the calm, more strained now. Just a few more seconds. The alien forces pressed their advantage, closing in on Carter's position with renewed ferocity. His team's resilience was being tested to its limits. Every second stretched into an eternity as Carter fought to keep the aliens at bay. Finally, a series of sharp beeps echoed through the comms. The core is exposed, Sarah announced, relief mingled with exhaustion in her voice. I'm initiating the overload sequence. Carter's face set in grim determination as he watched the alien forces surge toward their position. Hold the line! He roared, his voice cutting through the chaos. We're almost there! As the countdown began, the atmosphere was charged with a high-stakes intensity. The battle was reaching its climax, and the outcome of their daring plan was on the brink. With every fiber of his being, Carter pushed back against the alien tide, determined to see their gambit through to the end. This chapter ramps up the tension by focusing on the immediate conflict and the high-stakes nature of their mission. The dialogue and sensory details enhance the immersive experience, and the chapter's progression builds naturally toward a critical moment in the narrative. Chapter 4 The Dawn of Defiance. The clamor of battle had become a backdrop of relentless fury, but now, a tense silence enveloped the command center. The energy shields flickered erratically, the result of Sarah's risky overload sequence. Carter's squad, battered but unyielding, took their positions in a final stand against the alien onslaught. Sergeant Alex Carter's gaze swept over his team. We're at the final push, he said, his voice steady despite the chaos around them. Hold your positions. We're about to show them what humanity can do when pushed to the brink. Corporal Jake Torres, still bracing against a barricade he'd fortified, glanced up. We've got incoming. Lots of it. Looks like they're not taking this lying down. The oppressive hum of alien machinery and the rhythmic thudding of their advanced weaponry filled the air. Carter's eyes were locked on the flickering control panel, where Sarah's fingers worked feverishly to keep the overload sequence stable. "Sarah, how's the system?" Carter's voice was edged with concern. The weight of the situation pressed heavily on him, each moment stretched thin with anticipation. "I'm holding it together," Sarah replied, her voice taut with effort. "But we're on a razor's edge. If the sequence fails, we could lose everything." The alien forces, relentless and merciless, surged forward with renewed aggression. Carter's squad fought with every ounce of strength they had left, their resilience a stark contrast to the overwhelming alien might. The command center's walls reverberated with the impact of plasma rounds and the screech of torn metal. Torres, his armor smeared with grime, gritted his teeth as he fired back. "We've got a breach in the southeast sector. They're pushing through. Hold them back," Carter ordered, his voice a force of determination. "We can't let them get close. We need every second we can get." The battle reached a fever pitch. Alien forces closed in, their advanced weaponry and tactical prowess pressing hard against the humans' makeshift defenses. Carter's heart pounded as he saw the tide of invaders pushing closer to Sarah's position. His squad's determination was their only shield against the encroaching darkness. Amidst the chaos, Sarah's voice cut through the din. "Initiating final overload in 5 seconds!" she shouted, her voice tinged with both triumph and apprehension. The control panel emitted a series of urgent beeps, signaling the imminent climax of their plan. "Everyone, brace yourselves!" Carter commanded, his eyes scanning the battlefield with a fierce resolve. "This is it!" The moment of truth arrived. Sarah's fingers hit the final command, and the control panel erupted in a burst of light and energy. The alien machinery convulsed, the overload sequence triggering a cascading failure throughout their systems. The alien forces faltered, their advanced tech flickering and sputtering. The change was immediate. The once impregnable alien defenses began to crumble, their tactical edge dissolving in the face of the sudden technological collapse. Carter's squad seized the moment, launching a decisive counterattack against the now disorganized invaders. "Push forward!" Carter yelled, rallying his team with a surge of renewed energy. The tide of battle turned as the humans pressed their advantage, their defiance a powerful force against the alien onslaught. The battle raged on, but the alien command center was now a chaotic battlefield of retreat and confusion. Carter's squad fought with a newfound vigor, their victory within reach. The alien forces, their confidence shattered, began to retreat, their once assertive presence now a fleeting shadow in the face of humanity's indomitable spirit. As the last of the alien forces withdrew, Carter's squad stood amidst the wreckage, their breaths coming in ragged gasps. The command center was a landscape of devastation, but the survivors stood tall, their victory hard-earned and well-deserved. Carter's gaze met Sarah's, and he nodded with grim satisfaction. "We did it. We held our ground, and we showed them what humanity is capable of." Sarah, her face smeared with grime and sweat, managed a weary smile. "We did more than that. We proved that no matter how dark the odds, we can always fight back." The dawn broke through the haze of battle, a new beginning rising from the ashes of their struggle. The victory was theirs, but the true triumph was the unwavering spirit of humanity that had shone through against all odds. This chapter delivers a satisfying conclusion to the conflict, wrapping up the battle with a high-stakes climax and an emotional resolution. The tension builds naturally to the final moments of the battle, with each sentence contributing to the narrative's progression and character development.